Hello friends, Stephen Beddle here. So Cubase 15 has officially arrived, and with it comes an upgraded Groove Agent SE, now at version 6. It's more powerful, more intuitive, and opens up a whole new world of rhythmic creativity. In this video, I want to explore some of the standout features and show you how to make the most of them in your productions. So let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are looking at Groove Agent SE version 6. I'll start here by loading up a kit. So I'm going to come up to this file folder icon here on the top right, and I'm a big fan of the Alan Morgan drums. Let's check that out, maybe one of these vintage kits. And first update to note here is that we can now preview our kits. So if I hit this play button here at the bottom, we hear our kit preview. We also have some other useful options such as autoplay and loop playback. We can also follow our project tempo, and we can adjust our preview volume. So I love the sound of vintage kit number 1. I'm going to double click to load that. And I'm also going to move this up to the top here because a big update that I want to show you here, which I'm really excited about, is that we can now bring up the mixer in the lower section, which allows us to fully edit the kits and make mixing adjustments all at the same time, which is a really nice visual and functional upgrade. We also have a fully scalable user interface for version 6. If you're using Cubase 15, you'll want to come up to the top right and click on Functions. Under user interface scaling, we can scale it up or down. Let's try 25%, or we can go right up to 50%. And this looks really nice with one of our acoustic kits loaded up here. As you can see, that will scale up as well. This also works if you're in Cubase 14 or other DAWs. But rather than coming up to the Functions menu, you'll find scaling under the Options menu. So under UI scaling here, we're at 100% by default. We can go down to 75, up to 200. So if I choose 125, we get the same effect. Now with this mixer open, if we come down here to where it says effects, that'll open up the effects insert slots. And while I have the mixer open here, I should mention that there's some brand new effects to work with in version 6. So if I pull down the menu here, you'll see that we have the Reverence Reverb, the Studio EQ24, we have a Bit Crusher, a Clipper, Fuzz Distortion, and under Dynamics, we have the Auto Gain Compressor. So really cool to have some new effects to work with, and we'll come back to test some of these later in the video. So maybe I'll just close the effects inserts for now. And you'll notice that currently these pads are all routed to the main kit mix. If I want to route these to one of the buses instead, it's really easy. I just right click, can assign output to agent bus number 4. Do the same thing for our snare here. I'll assign it to bus number 3, our cross stick to 2, our kick to bus 1. This routing will come in handy when I want to add some effects to certain pads later. So I'm going to collapse the load panel, and I'll hide the mixer as well. Also next to the mixer button here, we have the show or hide keyboard button. So if I resize this a bit, you can see that. I usually keep this hidden. The big update, which I'm most excited about, is the new Groove Agent pattern editor. Up at the top left here, I'm going to switch from kit to player. And you can see right here that we have 3 different modes. So right now we're looking at MIDI mode, we have style mode, and we have the pattern mode. And I think that a lot of you will be familiar with the look and feel of this pattern editor and player, as it essentially functions much the same way that the Cubase drum machine pattern editor does that was introduced with Cubase 14. The integration of this pattern editor into Groove Agent really takes beat making to an entirely new level, and I'm going to show you just how creative you can get with it. Right off the top, what I absolutely love about this upgrade is that we could easily convert our style and MIDI presets seamlessly to the pattern editor. So for example, coming back to MIDI mode, we have a few different beat grooves here that come with our vintage kit. So if I want to convert that to the pattern editor, it's as easy as coming up to this little arrow, convert to pattern. And there it is. What I love about this functionality is that it's so easy to make creative edits to these grooves. So let's see what we can do here. Right now this pattern is kind of long. It's a full 64 steps. Can easily change that. If we just come up here to the number of steps, let's just change this to 32. Okay, so now we've got a 2-bar long pattern, and maybe I'll start by adding a few snare ghost notes here. So we can preview this sample. Sounds like that. So maybe I'll add one here and here. Perfect. And I'm not really feeling this hi-hat pattern. So if we come over to this lane, let's right click and remove all steps from step lane. Okay, easy. I think I like this hi-hat better. Again, we'll preview it. And what I'm going to do here is come up to the top left and show the step lane inspector. Okay, so we have some really interesting functionality here. We can click on this randomization button and add a completely random pattern to this lane, or we can use the Euclidean feature, which will add steps evenly. So I'll just undo that. Let's switch over and I'll add 16 pulses here. So a lot easier to do it that way than to click in each of these steps one by one. Okay, so how does this sound? You know what? Maybe I'll go double time on these hi-hats. Let's type in 32. So that's closer to what I want, but it sounds a bit robotic at the moment because there's no variation in the velocity. So down in the parameter lane here, we're looking at our velocity value. We can make adjustments really easily here, or we can hit the randomization button here as well in the parameter lane. So that sounds kind of cool. Actually, I'll just make a few adjustments. In the parameter lane, we also have some other things that we can mess with. For instance, repeats. I love this. So we can add some double hits, maybe here. Let's see what this sounds like. Cool, super funky. And things get super interesting when you add automation parameters. So if we hit this plus button here, we have a few options. We can add pad automation. We have a category here for other and MIDI controller. Now, something that I've tried that's really fun is applying automation to effects. Before we do that, let's first add an insert effect on one of these pads. So maybe we'll add a bit crusher to this hi-hat. And we can solo the hi-hat here. So what would that sound like? Okay, that actually sounds kind of interesting when we mess with this low pass cutoff. So let's say we want to automate that. Well, what we could do is just right click, we can learn CC, I'll assign this to my mod wheel, and coming back up to the pattern editor, let's add parameter, come down to MIDI controller and select modulation. So let's hit the dice button to randomize. And with my hi-hat soloed here, what does this sound like? Okay, so that adds some cool movement to it. And we can go a step further. So let's add another parameter value. We'll come down to pad automation and we'll choose amp pan. And again, I'll randomize it, listening back. Okay, cool. So now we have some really interesting movement in the stereo field. Let's put the finishing touches on this beat loop. Maybe I'll add one more element. This cross stick sounds like this. Let's randomize the steps. Okay, that sounds cool. I'm going to adjust the velocity of some of these. And by the way, we can also adjust velocity on the step itself just by clicking and holding. Let's assign our cross stick to bus number 7, and we'll add a bit of reverb. We'll use the reverence. And maybe on the master output here, we'll add the auto gain compressor. Okay, cool. I love it. So there's endless creative possibilities when using the pattern editor, especially when using the automation features in combination with the effects. So much fun. And there's a few other really useful features here that I want to show you with regards to the pattern editor. For instance, we can change the play direction for the entire pattern. I could play this all backwards. Or I could apply that to specific lanes. So I could choose the cross stick lane here and change this to backwards or alternating. We can also adjust the step resolution for the entire pattern, or we can apply that to specific lanes as well. So for example, coming down to the hi-hat lane, we can change this from 16th notes to 32nd notes. We also have the ability to add swing to the pattern. We have an offset function. And in the inspector here, we can also nudge forward or nudge backwards for individual lanes, or if we come up here to the top, the entire pattern. Also, one other very important thing to mention. So earlier we were in MIDI mode when I converted one of these grooves here over to the pattern editor. We can also do the same thing here from style mode. So if we open up our style presets, let's audition funk number 2 here, let's say. So say we want to drag that into this pad here. Again, it's as easy as just converting that to the pattern editor. And if we want to drag this in as a MIDI file into the project, super easy to do. I'll just scale this down here. Coming up to the top right, there's this little MIDI icon here with an arrow. You just click and drag that right onto your track. So that's a quick look at the pattern editor. I think it adds a whole new dimension to Groove Agent. To wrap this video up, I want to showcase a few other key updates, which I think are incredibly useful. First of all, if I click on the load panel here, you'll notice that the search parameters here change depending on whether we have player or kit selected. So with player, we can search by kits, styles, MIDI, and pattern. If I select kit, we can search by kits, instruments, and we have this new tab called samples. Right now, I'm just looking at all of the samples in the Alan Morgan signature drums. But not only can I search samples across all of my Groove Agent kits, but I can also access all of my Cubase sample and loop kits. So I could pull samples from Lo-Fi Dreams or the Nightcall Synthwave pack. It's all here. So really useful for building custom kits. So for example, let's search kick. We'll throw this on a pad, search snare. That sounds cool. I'll throw that on a pad as well. Let's also give these a color. I'm gonna right click, make this one red, make this one yellow. And check this out. If we come over to player, you'll notice that if we select pattern mode, that our corresponding colors will also show up here in the pattern editor. So there's a visual connection there between the kit and the pattern editor, which makes it easier to look at. And if we just draw in like a really simple pattern and come back to kit, one update that's really useful is that we have pre-listening in place for all acoustic and beat agent instruments. If we come down to the very bottom right here, let's select pre-listen in place, come back to samples. With our kick pad selected here, we can play the pattern and choose different kick samples to audition while the pattern is playing. And last thing I want to show you here is that we also have a pitch detection function. So again, taking this kick as an example, coming down to the bottom here, there's a little pitchfork icon. Let's enable pitch detection. So it says here this kick is F sharp. And a really cool feature is we can actually quantize the pitch. So for example, I could take another kick here. Let's drag this in. So our pitch detection for this sample is saying it's at A sharp minus 25 cents. If we press quantize pitch, it'll adjust the fine tune so that it brings it up to 0 cents. Pretty cool. So that wraps up our look at Groove Agent SE version 6 in Cubase 15. I really hope you enjoyed that. I think it's a smart, refined update that really expands on what's possible with beat making. So if you enjoyed that walkthrough, make sure to like, subscribe, and by all means, check out some of the other videos on this channel. My name's Stephen Beddle. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you next time.